kids cardiac. Catch me in the Muni where the party at. Dog pound, turn up with the elf up on my starter cap. Brought him back, boy, we from the land and we proud of that. Louder man, front to the back, here we go, I got him shouting that. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Stand up. Here we go, brownies. Let's go. Game on the line, Joe Thomas, I promise. Jim Brown running through opponents, how I got this. I return like Josh Cripps, paying for the mini, got the dog pound jumping. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Stand up. Here we go, brownies. Let's go.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie Ellery, coming to you live from Pensacola, Florida. Joined with me, as always, out in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, we have Dustin. But before we do our introductions and talk about the draft, we've got a nice little video from our friends over at Mr. Hero to share with you all.
SOS, I could use a hero right about now. My faith in love is upside down. H-E-R-O, where will we all go? SOS, I could use a hero right about now.
Mr. Hero's turning 60. We're proud to have served your favorite cravings for 60 years in celebrating what we do best. Thanks, Ohio.
I crave a hero.
That's a pretty catchy jingle. I like that song. Dustin, how you doing?
I am still not caught up on sleep. The draft, oh my gosh. I got into the inner circle again, Allie. Everybody said they saw my big mug on TV Friday. Thursday, I couldn't get in. I wasn't expecting to get in on Thursday. That's kind of, that's the night that you're kind of like, that nobody's leaving the stage for round one of the draft. But I got down there Friday night, and the people of Wisconsin are just nice, Allie, just nice people.
I believe
Also,
that.
they start drinking at 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. The bar is open. I believe they have the 6 out of 10 drunkest counties in America. So that kind of fits the mold. They get off their shift. They go, but we pulled up with Larry in the bus, and they're like, oh, yeah, come in, get some shots, start your day. And I'm like, holy cow, this is what we do up here. We drink. And we drink and we drink. So, but I didn't do a lot of drinking. It was like, that's the irony of it. I didn't do a lot of drinking. Pretty cool. The Cleveland Browns came by on Wednesday afternoon and did a TikTok of us. That was pretty cool. And shared that on their TikTok page. And then Ian Rappaport stopped by the bus Wednesday night. So that was like, draft hadn't even started. I'm like, well, this is cool. We're having fun. But I will take this. People, and you understand this, you've been through the Muni, right? It's a whole nother level of tailgating in the National Football League. The bus comes in, Allie, and it was the craziest thing. It pulls in, and like 30 or 40 people just start going towards this bus. Like, what is this thing? Who are these people? And they drove this thing and tailgated. So that was fun. Met a lot of Green Bay fans. Of course, as you know, the draft brings all the fans from all over the country. But it was interesting. It was a crazy draft for the Cleveland Browns. I think none of us, you or I, did not have any of what happened on our bingo card prior to the draft of what happened with the Cleveland Browns.
I mean, like we said, we have no earthly idea what can happen. And we didn't.
Yeah. And so interesting enough, when Ian Rappaport left the bus or was getting ready to leave the bus, it was the weirdest exchange I've had with somebody in media. I said, hey, so you know what our Browns are going to do tomorrow? And he goes like this, can't talk about it. Just boom. He just shut it down. I'm like, oh, okay. No problem. But he probably knew that the Browns were working on some kind of trade because we found out they've been working on it for 2 weeks. That was kept pretty quiet with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, but no, we'll get into the draft and all the picks and all the wonderful things. And then, of course, we'll have Coach Stump Mitchell on here in a moment.
Yeah, we're going to bring him on. And then later on, we'll have David join us and talk about kind of the injury history with all of the drafted players for your Cleveland Browns. So you have that to look forward to. But we're going to go ahead and bring on Coach Stump Mitchell to the program. And guys, this interview is brought to you by our friends over at Mr. Hero. You saw that commercial here at the top with that very catchy jingle. But just a couple of things about Mr. Hero, because I'm sure all of you already know how good Mr. Hero is. They're celebrating their 60th year of being in business this year. There are 104 Mr. Hero locations in Northeast Ohio. You can do it through DoorDash, Uber, Grubhub, Go In. They have some really cool features on the app as well. So be sure to download that. They have a buy one, get one offer for just signing up. Monthly coupons, you have points, all sorts of good things. So be sure to go check them out over at Mr. Hero.
And with that, we're going to give a family 4-pack to people every single week moving forward. You get a free family 4-pack given away every week, guys. So look for that. We already have that out on our contest page. But yeah, family 4-pack. Who doesn't want like free food for the family? So we're going to give one of those away every single week. It'll be fun.
That's a win. All right, let's bring him on. Stump Mitchell. What's happening, Coach? How are you?
Hello, Allie, Dustin. How you all doing?
Gosh, Stump, it's been so long since I've seen you.
Oh, Stump, have you ever had Mr. Hero?
No, I haven't.
No, missing out. I know
I sure did.
Currently, but
Well, the Roman burger is what they're famous for. The Roman burger is what they say they're famous for. So
Definitely, I'll get that.
yeah, there you go. Coach, how are you? What's
I'm
going
good. I'm good. Nothing much at West Georgia, helping the football team out here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on tonight. I know it's been a while since I know you and Dustin just spoke, but since we've had you on, we're excited about it, especially kind of just coming off of the NFL draft. So there's a lot to talk about. I'd like to just get your perspective on what went down, especially for the Browns. They made a huge trade on Thursday, but had a ton of draft picks. They made some moves. Just your overall thoughts on what happened.
Well, I'm sure you've heard the statement, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I definitely wouldn't have skinned it that way. There's no way I would have traded the opportunity to have Travis Hunter. I mean, when you take a look at everything that happens with the Browns, their situation, I think you have to look at their situation. I don't know how they look at this situation with rose-colored glasses, because they don't have, Denzel, unfortunately, usually miss 3 to 5 games a year. So now you got Travis Hunter there as a number one corner as well. You also got a receiver who definitely would have helped Jerry Jeudy out in this one guy. It's no question he could play both sides of the ball. He's proven that. Of course, you wouldn't have him playing every snap, both offensively and defensively in the NFL. But if he needed to do it, he would do it, and he would be able to do it. I know the Browns have a great recovery room and all of that stuff. Those guys do a fantastic job in terms of getting the players right. It will be the coach's job to definitely manage their practice and stuff like that. But that's a young man that could have done it, help on both sides of the ball, and I just couldn't believe they gave that away. And also the guy that have the number one selling jersey right now, in the NFL.
that's crazy, right? Stump, it was 3 yesterday. Today it's 1. So, speaking of that, by the way, he visited a high school today here in Cleveland. He came into town. He went to the Browns Fit. And, of course, they got it wrong, Stump. They said, he's already at training camp and he's already in the locker room. Like, no, he's down at the Browns Fit working out. So, they're already – the media is crazy about this. This whole thing, but it's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, the situation with Shedeur, is totally different from here now. He's got to look at the perspective. Everything has changed. He's beginning to see a whole new world. Okay, from the day he got drafted by the Browns, everything's changed. But in terms of the draft, there's no excuses now. Mm-hmm. He can never give up. He's got to stay humble. He's got to work hard. He's got to be positive. He's got to stop wishing and start doing it. And he got to keep going. He's got to trust the process. That's what he's got to do, because he's probably at the bottom. And I don't think he's ever been in a situation where he really understood the process of competing. Now he has to compete. And Gabriel, they took the 94th pick. The young man is a heck of a player. He's played more college games than anybody ever at the NCAA level, and he's been successful at all of his stops. And he's going to have to compete, but they all have to compete against Mr. Flacco.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, to have currently now like 5 quarterbacks on this roster going into training camp, it's really going to be an interesting preseason. That's for certain. Now, the Browns did trade back, and I wasn't excited about it. I wanted Travis Hunter. That was kind of my vote there. But nonetheless, they were still able to accumulate a good amount of talent for this team and players that I think can come in and contribute pretty early. I mean, Mason Graham specifically, I think he makes a day one impact. Now, I think a potential blue chip player in Mason Graham. I want to turn it over to you, Stump, just to get your perspective on the Browns going defense with their first 2 picks in this year's draft.
You know, they think they know what they're doing, but I don't see going defense is fine because Travis Hunter is defense as well. The thing is that unfortunately you can't just forget history. Denzel is going to miss some games. Unfortunately, that happens. And Greg Newsome, he's okay, but he's not a Denzel Ward. I mean, teams don't fear Greg Newsome. Okay, they just don't fear him. They're usually successful most of the time against Greg, to be perfectly honest. So now you got Travis. MJ is a pretty good player, no question about that. He does a fantastic job, got great size and length. He's been really successful there. But you get a chance to get Travis. As good as Myles Garrett is, there have been games where Myles have had 0 stats. Okay, there are going to be games where Graham has absolutely no stats whatsoever because the philosophy of the defense was when Schwartz was there, you tackle the ball carrier on the way to the quarterback. They're rushing the quarterback. That's their main thing. So there would never be a game I think Jacksonville will have where Travis is active where he will not have some type of stats, either offensively or defensively. So they got rid of Tomlinson. Of course, he's in Arizona now, making $29 million for the 2 years. But he had 3 sacks last year. Graham had 3.5 at the college level. So we'll see how it all pans out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Dustin, go ahead.
Yeah. Stump, we got into this last night a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's like, not to beat a dead horse, but the Cleveland Browns were 32nd in offense last year. This is an offensive-driven league. You need star power. You need players that can, to your point, have an impact. And this is kind of a team that they are aging out a little bit, and you have to go get some of those guys to replace them on the offensive side of the ball. And just a few hours ago, we lost Elijah Moore, another player that could have came back to the Browns, signed with the Bills. So the wide receiver room's a little bare, and so is the offensive line room's a little bare. And they didn't make either one of those picks. That's the only thing that's glaring to me. And I think they have to make some kind of trade or use some kind of assets down before the season starts with some team to get a wide receiver or something. I know we signed Johnson, the guy that I feel like played in every team on the AFC North, but that's not going to fix it. I think they got to go get another wide receiver, and they got to get some offensive line help.
Well, I'm glad they lost Elijah. That's good for him, and it's also good for the Cleveland Browns fan. The organization may not think so, but it is. I mean, Elijah just hasn't produced the way he think he could have, or the Browns would love for him to produce. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who they drafted in the 6th round, put up more stats than Elijah, but they never showed Donovan Peoples-Jones any love. I mean, we as a staff didn't really show him any love. All he did was go out for the most part and get the job done. I mean, his 3rd year there, I think he had 864 yards, and he was never a number 1 or number 2 receiver. He was the guy that just made it happen. Quarterbacks found a way to make it happen with him. So it was disappointing that they didn't sign him back when they traded for Elijah, because both of those guys, he was more productive when they brought Elijah from the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and this is also going to be a kind of a refreshing start maybe for Elijah too, to go to Buffalo, good situation there, and try to revive a little bit, for him. I think it is mutually beneficial. And the Browns were able to potentially get a compensatory pick next year for that. I want to just go back to the draft, Stump, and I want to talk about the running back selection. The Browns get Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State and Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. Your thoughts on those two players, and then doubling up even with running back in this year's draft class?
Well, I think they got two good players. No question in those guys. They're good running backs. But I still don't think they attack the most important part of the team, and that's the offensive line. I mean, you got aging guys. The best thing they did to help the offensive line was to bring Joe Flacco back. A year later, yes, but at least they brought him back. Those guys understand what Joe can do. I mean, he's a big guy. He's a strong guy, not very mobile, but when he have to run, he will. Joe knows what it takes in order to get his body to the state that he wants to be at in order for him to be successful. But Joe has already helped the pass protection, or I should say the Browns have already helped the pass protection by bringing Joe back. Those guys love him up front, and they're going to give their all. And hopefully now they'll be in a system, a scheme that's great for them, both from the run standpoint and also the passing standpoint.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, speaking of the two running backs, the biggest glaring thing now is there's rumors about Nick Chubb going to the NFC North. Obviously, Ford is still on this team. You've always been a very big advocate of Ford as a running back. Some have made that Pierre Strong would have to basically be released in some capacity because it's just a crowded room to bring someone back like Nick Chubb. What's your thoughts on the chances of Nick Chubb returning to the Cleveland Browns, or do you think possibly that ship has sailed and he's already looking at other teams that we may have seen our last time with Nick in a Browns uniform?
All of that can be true at the same time. I think Pierre, there's a good possibility that he could be released. Coach Belichick drafted him in New England, and it didn't work out much for him there. We brought him to Cleveland, and he was better there during my time. This past year, he didn't get a whole lot. I mean, the offensive line was devastated for the most part. So I don't think you can judge it there. His biggest attraction was special teams wise, and I think he's the odd man out in terms of being the running back there. If Nick could come back there, I think it would be great. But everything is going to be based from that running game, really entirely on how the offensive line. Those young guys coming from college, they have some skills, no question about that. So they'll just have to be able to get there and mesh with the offensive line.
Mm-hmm. Stump, we'll get you out of here on this one. Just in the pre-draft process, I know that you've been part of some of these conversations and what this looks like at the player level. I know that there's rumors going around right now that Shedeur didn't do well in his pre-draft visits, but just opening it up a little bit broader, just those visits kind of as a whole, what does that look like? Let's just say, for Dylan Sampson or Quinshon Judkins, if they met with the Browns at the combine, what did those meetings look like or potentially?
Well, everything is different with Shedeur. I don't think it was totally the meetings. I mean, Andrew Berry made a statement. He said, I felt like our personal relationship and interactions with Deion, that's really been all positive from our perspective. And I mean that organizationally, not just me and Kevin Stefanski, but really all of us who had interaction with Deion and the people out in Colorado. We don't typically penalize prospects for their parents, so to speak. So I can't say if that was a factor or not for other teams, but that was not a significant factor for us, Barry said. So it's not just about the interviews, with Shedeur. It's about Deion. I mean, I think they took the whole process, preparing for the draft and all of that stuff, totally wrong. I mean, you can't say who you don't want to play for. You can say it, but now it came back and it bit them in the butt. I think that was poor. Shedeur, it's a new deal for him now. He's never had to compete. Okay. Now he has to compete. And I would say, just the success of three of the guys in that room, he's gonna have a tough time. I mean, Gabriel is a good quarterback. He doesn't hold on to the ball. He understands the process of the play. You know, Shador had number one completion percentage in the league, but he also while he was in college, but he took too many sacks. You know, you got to get rid of the ball. But if he got rid of the ball, he wouldn't have the number one completion percentage either. But he would be judged by his ability to play the quarterback position. And I think that's what a lot of people did. They judged him by how he played the quarterback position, and he's been doing it that way for forever. So now they have to see how long is it going to take us to break him to get him to play the position where it matters to the team more so than it matters to him personally. You know, you got to be offense and defense friendly, special teams friendly. You got to throw the ball away. Yeah, it may affect your completion percentage, but it doesn't matter. You're going to get a tick, a positive, or maybe a plus, 2 pluses for getting the ball away and not throwing it. You just can't hold on to the ball, you know, as much as he did. And I think he'll learn, but it's a stacked room, a room with a lot of talent, and he's got to go to work.
Big time.
Sure.
I think that's going to be the conversation this entire preseason, just even leading up to training camp, what this is going to look like from the quarterback position. But at the same time, this is kind of a good problem to have. You know, the Browns haven't always been in that situation where, you know, there's a plethora of talent in the quarterback room, and that's still yet to be determined. But there's some hope, there's some optimism, and I think that this draft got fans excited for something. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to having these conversations.
You know, I think the greatest thing about it is that now all of those quarterbacks, for the most part, are pretty much drop back, play action type quarterbacks. Yeah. So for that's the most success type players Kevin has had success with. You know, he don't have to try to figure these guys out. Hopefully now he can go back to being the guy he was that they first brought into Cleveland, and not worrying about trying to match Deshaun. All Deshaun ever wanted to do was for Kevin to be the best that he could possibly be, and let him break things or make things out of broken plays, you know. So, but now, and that's the type of quarterback Shador is. He's not a scrambling type guy. He's more of a old age type quarterback, unfortunately. But that's who he is, you know.
I think he's a true pocket passer. Like you said, that's really who Stefanski has thrived with. So if he is going to have success in the National Football League, I think that he will find some with Kevin Stefanski. So fingers crossed. Some optimism in Cleveland. But Stump, thanks for joining us. Really
Thank you. All right, see you all. Bye-bye.
Coach, always a pleasure.
Stump Mitchell. That interview was brought to you by our friends over at Mr. Hero. Real quick, I want to highlight as we transition here. Elliot says, last time he was in Cleveland, he got stadium mustard. Let me just tell you something about stadium mustard, guys. If you don't have stadium mustard in your kitchen this season, you're doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste, beloved from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium mustard is a smooth brown mustard, rich in both taste and tradition. By the way, it's loved by millions, so be sure to head on over to stadiummustard.com to shop now. Also, Dustin, we've got our shirts on tonight.
Yeah, they arrived.
Yeah, so
you have a jacket on, and you're in Pensacola, Florida. Is it cold there?
Oh, we just the air's blowing, and in my office.
See, this is the thing. Women are like it blows me away. Like in the middle of July, women will have like those little space heaters under their feet to keep them warm. Like
in my office here, it kind of creates like a wind tunnel. It's kind of an interesting. So it just when the air's on, it like just circulates because I have the doors shut for the dogs, so it just is. It blasts cold air.
Did we get the right size for David? Does it fit him?
Oh yeah. So we want to give a shout out to our friends over at Weebly, Ohio. You can get baseball, basketball, and football themed apparel, of course, for your favorite teams. Your official Runnings podcast T-shirt. So be sure to check them out.
And hoodies. Yeah.
I would like one.
By the way, they were a hit. Those shirts were a hit at our Lakery Distillery pre-draft party. People wanted those, and then I thought it was super cool. Bob Golick, your dad would have loved this. Bob Golick was signing our T-shirts, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Awesome. We're gonna bring David on here in just a moment, but for those of you that are watching, I've seen some comments come through, some questions, and I want to get to some of these. Dustin, just really our initial and raw reaction. This is kind of this is the first time that we're discussing post draft. Of course, we went right into it with Coach Stump, and that was awesome. But I want to get just kind of our raw reaction to the draft. And we'll do this fairly quickly, and then we'll of course go through every pick. So we'll get to all of this, but kind of just in a quick way. What was your thought when the Browns traded down on Thursday night? Like, what was the first thing going through your head?
Well, I was with a large group of people that were ready to videotape me because I was going to lose my you-know-what when the Browns traded out. And I thought, this player has now passed the Patriots. Ashton Genty is literally in our lap, so we can take him right here. And boom, they take the Michigan guy. And I'm like, man, did I jinx it? Because I drove up to Michigan to see the Big House on my way to Green Bay. And who takes him at number 6? Swoop, right off the board. The Raiders take him with the very next pick. So I was kind of pissed. But then I was like, okay, I got to step back, take my blue and orange glasses off. Okay, is this a blue chip player that's going to start day one? I actually spoke with a person that worked for the Jacksonville Jaguars that was at the draft, and he thought we did fleece the Jacksonville Jaguars based on what they gave us. And I was like, yeah, when I look back and I kind of just calmed down, I was like, okay, we got a first round next year, our first round, we took their second. And I was like, holy cow, if we don't get the quarterback position right this year, we can just hit the reset button next year.
Yeah.
But man, if we do get it right this year, we have 2 first-round picks that could be a significant difference in the future of this football team. So once that happened, I was like, and here's the truth. Mel Kiper doesn't give out A pluses. He gave the Cleveland Browns an A plus.
Well, that's just Mel had an absolute meltdown.
Yeah, he did. And he brings up a valid
Shador. But otherwise, one thing I want to say is I was pissed to see the trade down. I'm not gonna lie, I was pissed.
Sure.
I was like, you're kidding me. What are we doing? Like, we've seen this before. What are we doing? You've got a potentially a generational talent here. Take that player.
Right.
And I'm still not happy about it, if I'm being honest. Like, I wish they would have taken Travis Hunter, knowing how the rest of the draft played out. But it's always good to go into next year with this draft capital, because maybe in the event that this quarterback situation does not work out, now you're equipped with 2 first-round picks next year that maybe there's another trade available for a player like, I don't know, Justin Herbert or somebody like that. Now I'm just throwing that out there, but that's potential. So you're well equipped to make some moves this year and next, which is nice. However,
let me ask you this. Speaking of that, based on what you see in 2026, say the Browns have 2 top 15 picks. Do you see any once-in-a-generational players that could be coming up in next year's draft, in your opinion? That could be
it's hard to know right now, right? A lot of these guys going into this year are young quarterbacks and young players. So time will tell. I think that there is a lot of talent, especially quarterback talent, in this upcoming draft. So it's certainly something to keep an eye on. We'll talk about that down the road. I do think it'll be probably a more skill position player heavy draft next year in quarterback draft. This year was all D tackles. I mean, like so many tackles went off the board, so many running backs. But I was pissed on night 1. I was. Day 2, I was very excited to get 2 great picks there in the second round. I was really excited about Quinshon. I think he's just a hard-nosed running back, going to in a very similar way as Nick Chubb has in Cleveland. And then also to get Harold Fannin Jr. Man, I was just pumped.
We talked about him.
And also, just if you look at it, now I was totally confused by drafting the 2 quarterbacks in the way that they did, as were everybody. But if let's just say that the Browns in the first round took Shador Sanders, like if the places were swapped, where Shador Sanders was the first quarterback and then Dylan Gabriel and everything else that we had, I think we probably would have said this is awesome. But because they went Dylan Gabriel first and then Shador Sanders, that had everybody like, what in the hell are we doing? And I still think that. I still am like, well, what in the hell are we doing? But we said on this show, and I know many, many other people said, take 2 quarterbacks. You take 2 quarterbacks. And at some
Nathan
point,
said it.
yeah,
Nathan
Nathan
said
said it. Haven't said it. So many people said it. Andrew Berry even said it. Maybe we'll take 2 quarterbacks, and they did. So I think just the placement was what was so confusing. But at the end of the day, you come away with the Big 10 Player of the Year, the Big 12 Player of the Year, and the SEC Player of the Year in this year's draft class. You get Shador Sanders, Big 12 Player of the Year, Dylan Gabriel, Big 10 Player of the Year, and Dylan Sampson, Big SEC Player of the Year. To come away with that type of production, I think is something to be really excited for, Browns fans. And what we know of Andrew Berry and his draft style is big time production from big time programs. We saw that, all with the exception of Harold Fannin Jr., who has that big time production, just wasn't at a big time program. But
Right.
that production certainly makes
But
up.
I mean, he was the entire offense for Bowling Green. I mean, like he was it. Like he was the guy.
Yeah. I think that there's some good picks here. There is a lot to be excited about going into this season. Now, did it fix all of our problems? No. I still think you need a receiver. We need to do something on the offensive line. I don't know what, but we need to do something. I don't like the way it currently is. There are some
Right.
holes in this roster. But I think that they took the best players that were available to them. They didn't really reach on any players. I think you get a potential blue chip player with Mason Graham. I really like the pick. I think when we look at the 2 running backs, a great 1-2 punch, 2-headed monster. They play different styles of the position, which we liked that when we had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think we get a younger version of that and a more cost-effective version of that right now with these 2 guys. Great athletic tight end, bulked up, the linebacking room. That's another great pick. Carson Schwarzinger out of UCLA. But
I like that kid. I like that kid. He is all over the field. That kid is all over the field. I like him.
you've got 2 very, very, very accurate quarterbacks. So at the end of the day, like after it was all said and done, I was like, well, I don't know what the Browns are doing. I don't know the vision. I don't understand it. And I still kind of don't. But I can identify that they took the best players that were available to them. They didn't reach on anybody. And this is going to be an exciting class with some talent that we will see production from week 1. I think some immediate impact players. A couple of things I would have liked to have seen, maybe a little bit differently, sure. But I still think we have week 1 impact players.
Yeah. It'll be, yeah. I just, the whole quarterback, I don't know, especially when the Browns take their entire front office to Colorado and take Gabriel and then end up bringing. Do you think that was a Haslam pick? I kind of feel like that was a Haslam.
No, and I'm sick of that narrative. I think we are so just. I think we think that Jimmy Haslam is this owner that just dabbles so much. Because of the times that he has, it hasn't turned out well. Johnny Manziel, we can assume, with Deshaun Watson. But Andrew Berry came out and said, no, he lets us do our jobs. We did we selected this. Andrew Berry made that selection. I don't think that Jimmy said, you need to do this. I think their guy was Dylan Gabriel all along. But because Shador Sanders fell to them in the 5th round, why wouldn't you move up to get him at that point?
Well,
it's a free pick, essentially.
It's a lottery ticket. That's what I was telling a lot of people. Like if Shador Sanders hits and he's your starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns someday and he wins you a lot of games, you got a free lottery ticket just handed to you in the 5th round. I mean, literally, that's what it is at the end of the day.
I'm so sick of this is a Haslam pick, clearly. No, it's not. It's not. This is great value. The Browns made a move. They have a quarterback problem. They're trying to address it. And it just so happens that he is a polarizing player with a lot of attention on him. But guys, if we can sit back and divide our fandom with Deshaun Watson, this whole Shador Sanders thing is easy compared to all of that. This is so easy. This is all about all of this media attention on Shador Sanders has very little to do with him as the player, all of the name. And I think that he recognizes that. This was a very humbling experience. He's already in Cleveland speaking at schools. I mean, you got to like that. So I think that he's got a shot. This is the right system and situation for him. But man, just The
Here's,
the take so
here's
seriously.
what's crazy about it. They just are so sensationalized with him from a media standpoint that every move or walk that he does is like big old spotlight on him. And I just think it's so crazy because at the end of the day, he just is a quarterback, right? Like if his last name wasn't Sanders, would he be graded just on his talents? Probably more than likely.
Same thing about Arch Manning, though. It's the same thing. So that's my issue. Is so many people are like, oh, Sanders, he's only here because of his name, because of his dad. Literally, the same thing is happening with Arch Manning right now. Everybody's saying he's going to be the #1 overall draft pick next year, and he couldn't even beat out Quinn Ewers. So I just have this problem with Sanders versus Manning. It's the same thing.
narrative.
Go off of the name. Go off of the talent. And again, Shedeur Sanders was the Big 12 Player of the Year. Big time production. Now, I'm not saying he's going to come in and be the starter. I don't know that he's going to beat out Dylan Gabriel. I don't know that he'll be the best in that room. It could be Dylan Gabriel. It could be Joe Flacco. It could be Kenny Pickett, or it could be somebody next year. But I think that as fans, we need to realize, like, yes, there's plenty of. I just saw this in the Dave said here in the comments, like cooks in the kitchen, a lot of quarterbacks. But this isn't a luxury we've always had, everybody. So,
well, here's what's very interesting about this, and I'm going to politely disagree from our friends over at Bearded Browns podcast, Angela. I think Joe Flacco is the quarterback week 1. I think he's going to come in and win that job. I think, to Stump's point, it's not like he's already ahead of the game, right? He knows all these players. He knows those offensive linemen. This is not going to be a test for him at the end of the day. But what we're also seeing, and people in the NFL maybe doesn't like this, and that's fine. They have to figure out that this is going to be a different league going forward. This is the first kind of batch of players to come in with a ton of NIL money. I mean, Shedeur Sanders made more at Colorado than he's going to make as a Cleveland Browns quarterback.
Yeah.
In the near future. Like, this is a whole new era of players, and guess what? They already have the money. They don't need all that. And by the way, Shedeur Sanders has been a class act off the field. No trouble, nothing with the law, none of that. And you're right. And it kind of pisses me off because Rich Eisen brought up a really good point. I've seen many drafts before, and you can attest to this, Allie. I've seen players with less talent drafted way higher than Shedeur Sanders with a ton of off the field issues and red flags, and teams just, taking them, don't care. The talent's there. And I'm like, it just is like, just can't wrap my head around this.
There was Mike Green this season has a rape allegation against him. He was still drafted. So, I mean, these are really serious things. And I mean, Browns fans, we know it with Deshaun, this is nothing. This is nothing in comparison. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, with the quarterback situation. I think that if I had to put money on it, I'm with you. I think Flacco's probably the quarterback week 1. But I don't know.
It's a crapshoot after that.
Yeah, then this really can go anywhere. So that's where I'm at so far. Before we turn things over, Dustin, why don't you tell our listeners about Lady Caroline?
Yeah, guys, Lady Caroline. The weather's changing. Book your lunch or dinner cruise. Check them out. We also are going to be doing a Browns fan cruise this summer. We got some exciting things to talk about with that. But yeah, check it out right there on the Cuyahoga that dumps right into Lake Erie. Lots of fun, great time. There's dancing. There's a DJ always on board for those lunch or dinner cruises. But yeah, check them out. That's Lady Caroline. And if you're down by the Cuyahoga River, check out the Greater Cleveland Aquarium. That's right. Take your kids, your grandkids. If you just want to get a day out with the family, we're also giving away family 4-packs of tickets all the time. And we have some really cool things that we're going to be giving away soon, a whole year's pass to where you can use the entire pass for the entire year to go to the Greater Cleveland Aquarium, which is super cool. Like a whole family can basically go for the entire year and use it as much as they want. So look for some fun stuff like that coming up as we just give away more and more prizes as the summer gets here. By the way, the weather here, Allie, 70, 50, 60, 80. Like it's it's like bipolar here. It really is. It's just, and I'm like, why is my nose all messed up? Sorry, that was off topic, but I'm just like, the weather here is just,
Yeah.
I mean, you grew up here.
Also, want to tell you about our friends over at City Barbecue, guys. They have award-winning meat, sauces, sides, all of it. They'll do your corporate events, maybe just have something catered, a shower, a wedding. They can do it all, or just pop in for lunch or dinner. It's a great option. So please be sure to check them out over at City Barbecue. Unfortunately, I had when we were talking about just the draft picks like a few minutes ago, I had this great idea pop in my head, this topic I wanted to cover, and now it's just gone. So I have no idea what I was going to say, but I like that's great. And I have no clue what it was. That sucks because I was like, oh,
It was good, wasn't it? It was good.
You have to make this point. So hopefully that comes back to me. Yes.
No?
Man, I don't know.
Is it
I don't.
quarterbacks? Not running backs, quarterbacks?
We'll pump the brakes on that. We're going to bring David on and talk about some of the injury situations with some of these draft picks, and I'm going to try to just recall whatever the heck I was just thinking of. This interview is brought to you by our friends over at Lorella Vineyards.
Here we go, Brownies Nation. Larry Lorella from Lorella Vineyards. Dustin Cook from Here We Go Brownies. We're here to talk a little bit about Here We Go Brownies wine. Dustin, let us know.
That's right, guys. The season wasn't what we wanted it to be, but the wine is amazing. Platinum winning, award winning wine. Here We Go Brownies wine. Come get it here at the winery or go to lorellavineyards.com. And remember, a portion of every single one of these bottles goes to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank to help those that are in need and hungry. That's right. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Woof, woof.
All right, let's bring him on. Dr. David Ellery. This is Medical Moment brought to you by our friends over at Lorella Vineyards. He's the husband of the program. Dr. David, what's happening?
Allie and Dustin, not a lot. Just sitting out here enjoying a humid evening. It is currently raining. That's nice out.
That you're sporting a nice looking Cavs type of T-shirt there. Look at that.
Oh yeah, what do you think about that? Sporting the land.
The land, I like it.
Four games.
Speaking of that,
largest margin of victory ever.
Yeah, largest victory ever. Again, I said it. Ollie knows this. This city could have 2 championships in basketball before they have one in football. It's very, very possible. So
it is. But you know what? Sometimes, David, you just gotta let them know. You just gotta let them know.
I already placed a bet on it.
Ah.
And there's the degenerate sports betting. I love it.
Awesome. Cavs and Guards to win.
All right. Actually, I placed that also, but I'm ready to cash out anytime it goes up. So, David, let's talk about these draft picks. First off, before we even get into it, we'll have you on probably for a good part of the rest of the show here, but want to just get your perspective on the Browns draft as a whole. We watched together. You were working this weekend, so kind of here and there a little bit, but talk to us. Your thoughts. What was it like to do a draft with Allie?
Oh, it was great. It was a ton of fun. It was like being live in football season and putting 10 games into one weekend. A lot of energy, a lot of excitement. We got some game day food going. We did some buffalo chicken flatbread. We did some Masters style egg salad. It was great.
Oh man!
So from that standpoint, it was a ton of fun. But the draft, I mean, we definitely had some pretty negative reactions Thursday night here in the house. Just when things kind of didn't go the way we were expecting or hoping. I think overall, as you guys have already said, turned out to be actually a pretty good draft. And I know you kind of alluded to or mentioned Mel giving it an A+, and Mel kind of went off the deep end, and I don't know what's going on with that guy anymore. But regardless, I overall, I think it's a great class. I think they landed some really good positions and some really good players at some incredible value. They have some key positions kind of filled now that are really going to make an impact pretty immediately. And, you know, taking a couple flyers on multiple quarterbacks late in the draft, not a lot of risk to that. And I think the value is incredible with getting Shedeur in the 5th round.
I think I remembered that triggered what may have been my topic.
There it is.
It might not have been, though. It might just be another one. But just want to go back to the whole Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel situation, drafting them in the 3rd and the 5th round. If this works out to where one of these guys is the guy, even just maybe a 2-year starter, let alone, you have them a significant cost savings, especially with Shedeur going in the 5th round of the draft. He's going to make less significantly less money than what he would have gotten the first 3 rounds. So if this does work out for you, my God, a lot of roster manipulation going into these next couple of drafts with a lot of draft capital. That was my point. I think, David, back to you.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a great point. I think, it works out for Shador in a way too. Now, he may not be getting the upfront money, but if he turns out to be the guy and the starter come year 5, he doesn't have to, there's no option for a 5th year. He gets his money in the 5th year, and he could be on the receiving end of a really big payout if he ends up being the guy for this city. So I like it. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of excitement surrounding Quinshawn being drafted, getting to stay home in Ohio. I think he's an excellent player. He's Ludo's favorite player on all of Ohio State's roster this season. And overall, like, there's still a little bit of need, but these players, I think, can stick with the Browns for a while and contribute immediately.
Yeah. Let's unpack any injuries. Hopefully none, but if there are any, David, I'll let you take it away here.
Yeah, so let's go through. I'll just go top to bottom in terms of draft order and what their injury history looks like. What I will say is that the theme surrounding this year's Browns draft class is durability and health. There are really not a lot of injury concerns, which is a good thing, knowing what this team has dealt with, but also the most injured portion of this team, the offensive line, wasn't addressed. So, kind of one of each hand. So Mason Graham had a broken bone in his hand. And that was the only listed injury. I don't know which season it was, but he only missed 2 weeks, then got a cast and played with it. So other than that, I mentioned a heel bruise before the NFL draft, and he was sidelined with that. But ultimately, like, neither of these are long-term injuries or issues. And it sounds like beyond those two, nothing extensive or serious requiring any sort of extended time off to mention. So overall, very healthy pick there. And, seems like for the most part, defensive linemen, especially defensive tackles, like, they're not super prone to injury like other positions. So that makes sense. Moving on to Carson Schwestinger out of UCLA. He also has quite a limited injury history. Really didn't have anything to speak of from his time in college, from being a walk-on to who he became this past season. The only thing that really was even reported for him was a hamstring injury while preparing for the NFL draft. And so he did end up holding his own pro day just to give himself more time to recover, but still show off his skills. Obviously paid off, becoming a second-round draft. Quinshawn, no injuries. I mean, there is nothing to report from this guy from his first 2 years in the league at Ole Miss. At Ohio State, he did have a minor injury with a procedure on his hand. I remember this happening. It was never disclosed what it was, and he never missed a game. So I don't know what it was, but he didn't miss any playing time, and he scored 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns? Many touchdowns in the playoffs. I don't remember which game he had 3 in, but regardless, didn't impact him. So again, healthy player, durable, and I mean, that's a key at the running back position, as we've experienced. Moving on to tight end, Harold Fannin Jr. had a wrist injury in his high school junior season that shortened that year. And he also missed a game in 2022 and in 2023. But again, these were non-disclosed injuries, did not miss more than a single game for any of them, and had one of the best receiving seasons of any tight end in the history of college football last year. So not a problem for him throughout his college career. Dylan Gabriel is the only one that really has had any kind of sustained amount of injuries. In 2021, broke his clavicle, but bony injury, healed well, had no problems after that. He also injured his ankle that game too, but really didn't seem to be a long-term thing. 2022 had a concussion, but it didn't seem to be a lingering thing. It didn't seem to be a recurrent issue like we know with some players like Denzel. So hopefully it doesn't become an issue long-term for him. And then he had a hand injury against Idaho in 2024, but it was never considered serious, and he didn't miss any time. So certainly he had probably the most serious injury of all these guys so far, but it was a fractured clavicle, and those things heal and they kind of move on from them. Dylan Sampson, thigh hamstring strain on November 30th, 2024. So if you recall, Dylan Sampson was almost non-existent in the game against Ohio State. A lot of people thought he was hurt in that game, but he said he actually injured his hamstring against Vanderbilt earlier in the season. And so nothing else to report from Dylan Sampson's time at Tennessee. And then finally, Shador. Shador probably had another one that was a little bit more serious. He's a quarterback. Quarterbacks take a lot of blows and definitely get hit a lot. And he had a quote-unquote fractured back during his first season at Colorado when he missed the final game against Utah. I don't know exactly what the fractured back was to speak of. My guess is it was a spinous process or transverse process on one of the lumbar vertebrae or thoracic vertebrae, which is insignificant. I mean, it's a little, just a fleck of bone, gets chipped off, pulled off, hurts for 4, 5, 6 weeks, kind of like a rib fracture, and then it is kind of not a problem. So it wasn't something like JOK that caused like an instability problem or concern, and it wasn't anything like anybody else with an actual truly fractured vertebrae that led to surgery or anything like that. So overall, like I said, the theme for this year's Browns draft class is durability and health, and that's something I think all Browns fans will be happy to hear.
David, that is surprising for someone like Shedeur Sanders, especially the amount of sacks and hit he took at Colorado. I mean, the fact that that's the only thing he came away with, I think speaks a little bit to his durability as a player, because, I mean, he took some massive hits in college and got right back up. So that does, I mean, I'm surprised he was able to play under that kind of stress for multiple games.
Yeah. And I mean, they also report an arm and ankle injury earlier in that same season, his first year at Colorado. But again, these were not long-term injuries, and he left that game early, but then returned. And last season really didn't have any lingering issues or long-term problems. So I agree with you, Dustin. Pretty amazing that he doesn't have a big injury history given what he went through in Colorado. And hopefully that means, he can sustain some hits that he's going to take in the NFL and come away unscathed.
Especially having 2 quarterbacks in this draft class that have very minimal injury history, and also running backs. Let's just kind of include all of the offensive players here in this draft to have that high of production and very few injuries. I mean, David, like I said, you've got the Big Ten Player of the Year, the Big 12 Player of the Year, and the SEC Player of the Year, all with big time production. I mean, let's just get into this. We'll start with Shedeur Sanders just because I have him pulled up here, or I thought I did. I mean, he's got 7,364 passing yards, 64 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I mean, that's massive production. That was at Jackson State before transferring to Colorado, and then they're at Colorado, Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year in 2024. He had 4,134 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. So big time production at both places. And then if we look at Dylan Sampson, SEC Player of the Year, he played in 35 games, 422 carries for 2,492 yards. That's 5.9 yards per carry, 35 touchdowns. Then in his senior season in 2024, he had over 1,400 yards, 22 touchdowns. So, I mean, just big time production. And then we'll highlight here with Dylan Gabriel. He started at UCF, as we know. He completed 554 of 913 passing attempts for over 8,000 yards, 70 touchdowns. Goes to Oklahoma, played for 2 seasons, 496 of 751 for 6,800 yards, 55 touchdowns. So that's actually crazy. That's crazy. Harold Fannin Jr., let's talk about him. 36 career games, 180 receptions for 2,396 yards, 17 touchdowns. Wow. He also had 33 carries for 159 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. So a guy that can do it all. And then Quinshawn at Ole Miss, 545 carries for 27-25, 31 touchdowns, comes to Ohio State, also just has big time production. So if we look at all of these offensive players, especially the skill position players with that production and very few injuries, David, I think that is something that this Browns front office valued very, very highly, because, I mean, just look at the Browns injury history the past few years. It's been decimated on offense and defense.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's a breath of fresh air. A breath of fresh air. Oh, I'm talking too fast. And just like I said, every Browns fan, at least for now, can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, knowing that there isn't at least someone with a serious injury. Nick Chubb, when he was in college, had a devastating knee injury. Now, obviously, recovered, came back, and was a stellar athlete in college. But that's a risk when you take a player like that. And at least at this point, after the draft, there are no major risks regarding health status on any of these players that were drafted. And they are all major producers, like you just rattled off.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Also, real quick, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at True Fan Travel. If you're looking to book your travel this upcoming season for Browns games, you need to check them out. They are the ultimate sports road trip buddy, all about bringing you closer to the heart, pounding action of your favorite away games for your favorite teams, whether you're cheering in the stands or just there locally. They've got it right. They can hook you up with the food, the travel, the accommodations, the hotel. They can do it all. It's not just a game; it's an adventure. So be sure to check them out. True Fan Travel. And Dustin, real quick, I'll turn it over to you if you don't mind telling our friends about Lake Erie Distillery.
Yeah, just real quick. If you guys are booking with True Fan Travel, use that code Brownies. That's right, code Brownies for $100 off your London trip. By the way, we're also giving away tickets to a free game to any Browns game this year. Compliments of our friends over at True Fan Travel. What can I say about Lake Erie Distillery? Love these guys. They have the Burning River, amazing spiced, basically cinnamon whiskey. They have the dill pickle vodka. They have an amazing lineup of drinks. You can get them in any of your Northeast Ohio liquor stores, or you can go to Willoughby, Ohio, and check them out. We had a great event last week with Ralph Holly Jr. that joined us. Well, actually, that would be, it was last week, or the week before. But Ralph Holly Jr. and Bob Goley joined us out there. Had a lot of people, Ray Showdog, and a lot of people showed up. So it was a lot of fun. Look forward to working with those guys and doing some stuff here in the community in the future.
Awesome. I'd like to go around the room here and just kind of quickly talk about our favorite pick, just overall favorite. And then I want to talk about also kind of best value and best and then least favorite fit or most questionable pick. So I think a lot of these may be similar or we may have the same answers, but I think it might just be a quick fun exercise for the last 4 minutes of the show. Dustin, I'll turn it over to you. Who was your overall favorite pick for the Cleveland Browns in this draft?
You know, this is going to sound crazy. Shedeur Sanders. And the reason this pick excites me the most is the opportunity that the pick can create. If we hit on this, for once, the Browns look like they did something right at quarterback, and they had to pay very little or nothing for this player. So that one excited me because I was like, now the part of it that did not excite me is if we did take a Travis Hunter, would this guy have been there later, and then we could have matched him up with Travis Hunter? I mean, we didn't even get into that, but that was a whole scenario that, based on what we've seen now, could have been a very real option for this football team. And then probably my least favorite is Gabriel. I was puzzled by this pick in the third round, and the reason was size. He's 5'11". There was a lot, and there has been a lot made of Baker Mayfield when he was at Cleveland, a lot of batted balls, things of that nature. Again, great player, but I don't know how that's going to transcend to the National Football League. I mean, the last guy to do it's Drew Brees, and I think Drew Brees was a rare breed to do something at this position at his height. So that was kind of just a weird one for me. That's kind of where I am with two picks. But the other ones were great picks before that, but those are probably the ones I'm most excited and the least excited about.
David, what about you? Your favorite pick in this draft class?
Yeah. So one thing just to comment on what Dustin just said, looking at like size of players in the NFL, there was a pretty cool tweet that I sent to you earlier, Allie, looking at quarterback size. Russell Wilson, 5'10", 204. Bryce Young, 5'10", 204. Kyler Murray, 5'10", 207. Johnny Manziel, 6', 207. Drew Brees, 6', 209. Michael Vick, 6'0", 210. Tua, 6', 217. Brock Purdy, 6'1. Caleb Williams, 6'1. Baker Mayfield, 6'1. And Jalen Hurts, 6'1. So Dylan Gabriel is certainly not the smallest quarterback ever taken in the draft. And
Right.
A lot has been made of his size. And I mean, Allie and I talked about that too. But I think I think some people are making more of a mountain out of it than it is. And
I want to say real quick, David, before we get into your favorite pick, just on that, you know, when you watch Dylan Gabriel, his size on the field has never been an issue.
Yep.
You know, I think when you watch Dylan Gabriel, especially, you know, the Buckeyes had to play him twice this year. For me, every pass that he dropped, every time he dropped back, he took a snap and dropped back, I anticipated that every one of those throws was going to be a completion because of how pinpoint accurate he was and just the cannon that he has. And honest to God, David, I've told you this every single day. I like him a little bit more. And I think that the Browns really do have some good things going with these young quarterback prospects. David, sorry.
No, it's okay. So my favorite pick, a little biased here, Quinshon Judkins. I played running back in high school. Obviously a big Ohio State fan, and I think he just fits the offense so well. I think he's exactly what Stefanski wants in a running back, and he's durable. He is a gamer. He is a grinder. He is going to go out there and get the yards. He's going to put his shoulder down, and he's going to block for you too. I think he's an excellent, excellent running back, and he's built for the NFL. And I'm excited to see where his career takes him.
Yeah. For me, my favorite, I really like the Harold Fannin Jr. pick. I love it. A little bit biased here. He's a Canton, Ohio kid, my hometown. I'm really excited about that. But when we look at the production, we look at the player, I mean, he's got that straight line, explosive kind of sense of urgency when he's playing, a lot like David Njoku. He's very fast. As you heard from what I was reading about him earlier, he's very versatile. He can run the football. He can catch the football. He can block fairly well. He's at almost every record at Bowling Green for a tight end. He's got a lot of range, very good hands. I just think he's a very physical and smart player. So I'm really excited. I think he's probably, when you look at all of these draft picks for the Cleveland Browns, he is the best fit in terms of just day one impact and what Kevin Stefanski wants to do offensively. I think he's really going to thrive in this offense. So I'm really excited about Harold Fannin Jr. Maybe next week. Yeah, go ahead, Dustin.
No, I was going to say, David, you know, even though I said that was my worst, my most the one thing where he does make up for his size, if you take Shador and Gabriel and you put them side by side, he gets the ball out quickly. I mean, that is one thing that Gabriel is very good at. He's very pinpoint about getting that ball out quickly. And I think that has to do with his size, because he knows he doesn't have a lot of time back there once he gets that ball and starts moving out. But he gets that ball away quickly. And you're right. I mean, he's one of two teams that beat the national champions last year at the end of the day. So to your point, I do understand that, but this is just me on a personal level. I even to this day think Kyler Murray should not be playing in the National Football League. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I think he would have been an amazing, awesome baseball player, probably even a better baseball player than football player. And I guess for me, it was when I saw him in that playoff game and he just got destroyed. And I was like, I wish he would have went in baseball, because he's a phenomenal baseball player. That's why the Yankees even took a first round on him, thinking that, and I heard it was dicey all the way to the end if he was going to play baseball or football. So
all right, you heard it here, everybody. Place a bet that Kyler Murray is the MVP this year.
He's not going to be the MVP of the league. He's not.
Hey, I bet the odds are pretty good right now.
I'm sure they are. And you know what?
I'd like to discuss, kind of just go around the league. Maybe we'll go around the AFC North, the draft picks that our enemies have made, and how that impact us twice a year. So we'll talk about that next week, as well as just some really good fits for some good teams, and talk about the draft a little bit more from a 30,000 viewpoint. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, Browns fans, go Browns.
Go
Browns.